Hello everyone, today is 10th of June, Monday. Now it's 10 past 9 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is first part of today's update in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Second part of today's update, as always, will be published on my Patreon page, and if you want to support my work and this channel, this small media project of mine, and also have access not just to secondary parts of the news updates, but also to some additional content, non-political content included, that I published on my Patreon on a regular basis. Please consider to become a paid subscriber to my Patreon page. Of course, that will be great support. Link is under this video to my Patreon page and in the pinned comment. That's been said, let's talk about news now. And first of all, short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. We have some interesting and important changes, and I will start with the Sumy region, because yesterday late afternoon, head of Chechen Autonomous Republic of Russian Federation, Ramzan Kadyrov, stated that Russian forces, Akhmat Special Forces, which is of course part of Russian forces, established control over the Rizhovka settlement in borderline areas of the Sumy region. This is the settlement. Relatively small settlement, but still important development, because this information may be indicator that in upcoming days maybe we will see beginning of the Russian local scale offensive operations in Sumy region, also to create a buffer zone that Russian armed forces creating right now and last couple of weeks in northern areas of the Kharkiv region. And if you take a look at the map, if we zoom out, it is quite a distance from this settlement, Rizhovka in Sumy region, and these northern areas of the Kharkiv region, where Russian forces already created buffer zone, and process is continues. Currently, buffer zone is divided on two parts. There is a western flank, where main direction of Russian offensive is Liptsi, of course, although for last week or two there was not really offensive movements towards Liptsi. Kyiv regime managed to deploy a significant number of its reserves, including from other sectors of the front line, by withdrawing troops from other sectors, and as a result of concentration of a big number of military personnel, Kyiv regime is now conducting local scale counteroffensives. First of all, towards this settlement, Glubokaye, on the northern side of Liptsi, although Russian armed forces repel all the counteroffensives that Kyiv regime conducted in this direction for now. No crucial changes on the ground. There was a report that Russian forces conducting local-scale offensives in Zelenaye, Niskuchnaye direction towards these settlements, but at this point, on internet, I didn't see any photo or video confirmation of any progress in direction of these two settlements. Things may change today or tomorrow, and we might receive some information that at least Zelenaye is under Russian control. Let's see how the situation develops. When it comes to eastern flank of this buffer zone, main hotspot here is of course Volchansk city, relatively large town. And in this city, Russian forces are conducting operations to establish control over the northern part. City itself is divided by Volchi River, and right now about 50%, 60% of the northern Volchansk controlled by Russian forces, and about 30-40% by Kyiv regime forces, as a result of, yet again, deployment of large number of troops from other sectors of the front line and also from strategic reserves. Kyiv regime did manage to relatively slow down Russian progress in this area, but same time, by the way, we know how effectively Russian armed forces are utilizing tactics of the creation of their traps And therefore, at this point, I'm beginning to consider Volchansk as a trap. Because, of course, Russian Air Force is pounding all the positions of the Kiev regime forces in Volchansk and surrounding areas. Russian long-range artillery, missile forces are very active, ground forces, of course, and Kiev regimes on daily basis sending more and more reinforcements towards Volchansk in general and towards northern this part of northern Volchansk, which is still controlled by Kiev regime forces. And of course, they are managing to maintain their presence in the northern Volchansk just because of extreme losses. That's the only reason why they still have this foothold in the northern Volchansk. And eventually, at some point, of course, Kiev regime will run out of manpower that can be deployed towards Volchansk. And then we will see further Russian progress. And of course, not just northern part, but entire Volchansk will become under full Russian control. And the entire Kharkiv region for that matter. Also, by the way, Russian forces were active once again in Sinkovka direction, which is of course Kupyansk sector of the front line. This is eastern areas of the Kharkiv region. This is still Kharkiv region, and according to reports that we see, Russian forces conducted some local scale offensive operations towards some 3 lines in these fields here on the southern eastern side of Sinkovka settlement itself. And even though right now we are talking about just reckoning force operation, maybe this movement of the Russian forces in this area are indicator more operations to start in a relatively short time towards Sinkovka. And of course, many of you know that battles for Sinkovka are continuing for a very long time. Sinkovka is like Belogorovka was on Siversk direction. For Belogorovka also battles were taking place for many months, but eventually, of course, Russian forces established control over the Belogorovka, and very same will happen with Sinkovka. Maybe we have indicator with this Russian reckoning force operation that battles are about to begin for Sinkovka once again. Also, by the way, when it comes to southern flank of Kupyansk, direction, Russian forces established strong presence in Berestovo settlement, which is right now divided 30-40% controlled by Russian forces, if not more. Rest of it is in a gray zone, or there are some presence of Kiev region forces, I guess, still in the settlement. Probably before end of this week, Berestovo will become under full Russian control, and we will receive information from Defense Ministry confirming that this settlement is liberated. And also Russian forces conducting local scale offensive operations towards Stepova Novoselovka settlement from 2 directions. One is Ivanovka, of course, and another is Kotlyrovka, Kislevka area. And most likely in this direction, Stepova Novoselovka gonna become a hotspot for a little while, and eventually, of course, it will not take too long for Russian forces to establish control over that settlement, if that's a task that Russian forces will have in that area. Also, when it comes to Siversk direction, this is Siversk. Russian forces, after establishing control over the Belogorovka about months ago, maybe little more, continuing their progress and neutralizing Kiev regime forces in surrounding areas of the Belogorovka. And on daily basis on internet, many videos are published about destruction of the strongholds of Kiev regime in this quite difficult terrain that surrounds Belogorovka. So Russian progress continues in this area. And also, by the way, Russian forces are further increasing pressure on Kiev regime forces in Razdolovka direction, and most likely this week we will see battles for Razdolovka and maybe even Fyodorovka. This is the southern flank of Siversk direction. And in general, I expect Siversk direction to become a major hotspot on the battlefield in a relatively short time. When it comes to Chasiv Yar direction, many informations are coming in that are contradicting each other. According to some reports, Russian forces established full control over the Canal district of the Chasiv Yar, which is located on the eastern part of this Siversk Donetsk Donbass channel. But many other sources, including Russian sources, by the way, are reporting that even though Russian progress is significant in Canal district, it's too early to state that entire micro district is in Russian control. Industrial zone mainly is under Russian control. Also, this block here, according to many reports, under Russian control. But Kyiv regime forces still have their presence in the western side of this district, including these high-rise apartment blocks, which is whenever you see this type of high-rise apartment blocks, you can imagine that they are turned into some sort of citadels, and therefore it does take more time to establish control over these blocks. It's almost always the case, but anyways, due to significant Russian progress in Canal district, surprising progress for many, I will say, I guess it is highly likely that before end of this week, Canal district will become under Russian control, and we may even see first reckoning force operations towards main part of the Chasiv Yar. Also, by the way, when it comes to Kyiv regime forces conducted some local scale counteroffensives towards Klishchevka, but after losing number of military vehicles and personnel, they stopped conducting these suicidal operations. I'm kind of surprised that Kyiv regime not yet allow its forces in Klishchevka and Avdiivka areas to withdraw western side of this Siversk Donetsk Donbass channel. But yet again, Zelensky and his criminal associates, they don't care about lives of their military personnel. They are sacrificing tens of thousands of them on monthly basis. So I guess these units, even though there is no point to stay on the eastern side of the Siversk Donetsk Donbass channel for Kyiv regime forces, they have no order to withdraw, and basically they are doomed to probably stay there forever in those fields. If some of them are, best decision those Kyiv regime forces can make there, or military personnel, is to contact Russian side and lay down arms and surrender. That's gonna be best decision of the lives for sure. Also, by the way, when it comes to Avdiivka direction, Russian forces continue local scale offensive operations towards Novopokrovskaya, towards Novoselovka, on the northern side of Avdiivka sector, and also Russian forces conducting offensive operations towards Yasnobrodovka and Karlovka. Main direction, I guess, is Yasnobrodovka now, and once Russian forces will further improve their positions in the fields in between Yasnobrodovka and Skuchna, I guess Kyiv region forces will have just two options: withdraw before they have such opportunity, or to surrender. Third option they don't gonna like, that's for sure. When it comes to southern flank of Donetsk sector, of course, Krasnogorovka is the main hotspot. Russian forces once again are activated in this direction, and they are conducting some local scale offensive operations, but general picture is not yet changing. Russian forces are controlling southern part of Krasnogorovka, where mainly most of their high-rise buildings and industrial areas are located, and Kyiv regime forces are in control of this 1-2-story buildings, residential area with this private housing. basically. I guess Russian forces are not in a rush in direction of Krasnogorovka, and once Russian forces will improve their positions towards Karlovka and New Volne, in towards New Volne, I guess we will see final offensive operation towards Krasnogorovka from three sides, from southern side, eastern side, and northern side, and that's when this battle for Krasnogorovka gonna end. Also, by the way, South Donetsk sector of the front line, quite active sector recently. Russian forces conducting offensive operations towards Ugledar, by the way, from eastern side. Novomikhailovka, Paraskovyevka area, and also in Russian forces are conducting operations in the field areas to establish more and to improve their positions in these fields here. And right now, as you can see, Russian forces are basically quite advanced. From Vladimirovka, for example, they are controlling this area, and from here to Ugledar, it's not that big of a distance. I guess Russian side will continue this slow progress by establishing control over the three lines and moving forward in this field. It's gonna be difficult, extremely difficult, because it's open terrain mainly, but eventually I'm quite sure Russian forces will encircle Ugledar by conducting pincer offensives from eastern side, from Novomikhailovka side, to say it in general, from Novomikhailovka direction, and also from Vremevsky salient area, where Russian forces almost fully establish control over the Staromayorskaya, according to some reports, and continue local-scale offensive operations in Urozhaina. I am kind of surprised that these two settlements not yet under full Russian control, but it's a high-intensity military conflict. So of course, Russian side will take its time to make sure that casualty numbers among Russian military personnel is minimal as possible. And I guess this is it for general picture of the situation on the line of contact. Of course, if you are interested in more detailed information about these local scale skirmishes, artillery duels, drone wars, reckoning forces operations, and so on, I recommend military channels for that. They are providing great volume of additional information about details of their clashes on the line of contact. And if by chance you are new to alternative media, independent media, and don't know military channels, under this video in description box I have a recommendation list, and there you can find links to at least several military channels. And by the way, lastly, Kherson region, it's a daily routine. Sides are continuing clashes for establishing control over the islands in the Dnieper and the Dnieper River. And also interesting news, by the way, that according to videos that are circulating on internet, I shared on my Telegram also that video. Ukrainian military personnel, one Ukrainian soldier basically, build from empty plastic bottles some sort of not a vessel, but to stay float. To float on the water, basically. He created something there, crossed Dnieper River, and surrendered to Russian forces. And according to his interview, he was planning this escape for 3 months. So this information also indicates morale of Kyiv regime forces, not just in Kherson direction, but in general, and also attitude of the military personnel in the Kyiv regime forces. Many of those people are forcefully mobilized. Many of those people see themselves as a part of Russian world, and they don't want to fight against Russia. They just don't want to be part of this this proxy war that Western ruling class is waging against Russia by using Ukraine and sacrificing Ukraine and Ukraine citizens. So that's also quite interesting news, sir. And I expect more and more instances when soldiers of the Kyiv regime are using whatever opportunities they will get on the line of contact to lay down arms and surrender. That's been said. Let's continue with some other news now. How long is this update? It's already 20 minutes. Wow. Okay. Well, let's start with this report. And of course, in Europe, by the way, in EU, main topic of the day will be elections in European Parliament that took place yesterday. And there are some interesting developments. There are surprises for many, I guess. And for example, according to this report, Macron calls snap parliamentary elections due to extremely poor performance of his party during those elections. So French President Emmanuel Macron has dissolved the country's National Assembly and called the snap general elections following the release of exit polls predicting disastrous performance by his Renaissance party in the EU Parliament elections. Macron's allies look certain to be roundly trounced by the right-wing National Rally party, which is associated with the Marine Le Pen. So, well, well, I'm not gonna lie, by the way, whatever is harms these psychopaths, Macron and his government or inner circle, I will say it's good for Europe, it's good for everybody. So I'm quite happy with this news. Also, Ugledar news paper is reporting, by the way, that you know what? Let me open the Telegram here. Ugledar newspaper is reporting about results in this European parliamentary elections in terms of Germany, and I shared information on my Telegram already. So the opposition bloc of the Christian Democratic Union and the Christian Social Union is leading in the European Parliament elections in Germany with 29.5%, while Chancellor Olaf Scholz's Social Democrats are in the third place, according to poll contributed by at their exit from the sites by the Infratest DMAP Institute. The right-wing Alternative for Germany party take second place with 16.5%. So AfD is doing quite okay in Germany, it looks like, this Alternative for Germany party. Scholz's party takes third place, as I already mentioned, with 14%. Also, by the way, Greens could get about 12% according to exit polls, and another coalition member with Scholz's party, the Free Liberals, may get about 5%. So I guess this is disappointing results for Olaf Scholz, which may be indicator that, well, people in Germany may not exactly be on the same page with him when it comes to not just internal politics but also foreign policy. I'm quite sure foreign policy play significant role in decline of the popularity of these parties that are in a ruling bloc right now. So interesting results there. Although, by the way, as I mentioned during the live stream yesterday and previous updates, I don't think true rulers of the West or Western ruling class will allow in European Parliament a majority to be created by skeptics of the globalist agenda, skeptics of the or critics of the foreign policies of the EU, and therefore, yes, some probably there will be increase in Eurosceptics, among Eurosceptics in Euro Parliament, also among critics of the foreign policy of the EU. But in general, unfortunately, it is highly unlikely that anything will change in the policies of the EU. That's quite unfortunate. But to create this illusion that there are elections in Europe, of course, Western ruling class will allow some number of their critics to be in this so-called parliament, European Parliament. Anyways, let's continue. And also, by the way, interesting news here. Interesting news that Belgium government, led by Prime Minister Alexander De Croo, is resigning after heavy defeat for his open VLD party in Sunday's parliamentary elections. So yes, I mean these elections, due to success of critics of the Brussels policies. Of course, there will be some changes in the leadership of EU member states, maybe even in ruling blocs or parties. But in general, I don't think true rulers of the EU or Europe will lose their grip or the situation. This is not happening. Whoever those true rulers are, by the way, I don't want to go in conspiracy theories, but we all understand that Macron is not deciding nothing, isn't it? He can talk as much as he wants, but real decisions are made by some much more influential people that are staying in shadows, or clans or groups, whatever they are. Anyways, by the way, and same goes about Scholz, about Sunak. Just take a look at the US, by the way. Of course, US is not EU, but I mean, can anybody believe ever that Biden really makes any decisions? Come on. So someone does, isn't it? So it's not a theoretical talk that there are some shadow forces that pulling the strings. It's just objective reality, because take a look at the Biden, man. And US is a main force in hands of collective ruling class of the collective West, isn't it? Anyways, also, by the way, when it comes to this so-called elections in European Parliament, unfortunately, party of the Ursula Bursula washing machine, European People's Party, that I guess that's how it's translated, gets a majority of votes, which is really unfortunate. So European People's Party, EPP, which supports the current head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has further increased its leadership following the results of the elections in the European Parliament. It already receives 191 seats in the new European Parliament. So yes, quite unfortunate. Quite unfortunate, but this confirms what I just said, by the way. If someone was thinking that maybe these alternative politicians will gain some real influence in European Parliament, well, unfortunately, no, it's not happening. It's just not happening, man. Western ruling class will not lose its control over their EU and Brussels politics, or EU member states, majority of them, because of course there are some EU member states that are trying their best at least, Hungary, Slovakia nowadays, to maintain at least some level of independence. So well, I already reported about resignation of Belgium's government and prime minister. Although, by the way, system in Belgium is such that even after resignation, current prime minister of Belgium may stay on his positions for many months, if not the years. So it does not really make any significant changes in terms of political leadership there. Also, by the way, Lenterus report here. Lenterus report that Russian warships arrived in Cuba. Of course, during the previous updates, I report about visit of Russian warships to Cuba. To be more precise, frigate Admiral Gorshkov and also nuclear submarine Kazan. And by the way, Admiral Gorshkov, sorry, is equipped with Zircon hypersonic missiles. I guess there will be some exercises together with the fleet of the Cuba. This is of course demonstration of the flag also, but I guess something else is happening also. Something else is happening also. This is clearly demonstration from Russia to Washington, to administration of Biden, that they should be a little more careful with this constant escalation with Russia, because at some point Moscow may say enough is enough, and then you know. So this is, by the way, RIA Novosti's report about Rizhovka settlement in Sumy region. I already spoke about it in the beginning of the update, that Rizhovka in Sumy region was liberated by Russian forces. Akhmat special forces were conducting that operation. I guess together with some other forces also, but because Akhmat forces, special forces, are affiliated with Chechen Autonomous Republic. Of course, head of Chechen Republic articulated presence of Akhmat special forces in that settlement, understandably so. TASS news agency is reporting that White House confirmed officially that US weapon systems already being used to strike deep inside Russian territory in internationally recognized borders. Advisor of the Biden in national security matters, Jake Sullivan, made such a statement. Not really surprising information for us, for our community, because in previous updates I reported several times, and I shared also photo materials on my Telegram channel about fragments of the HIMARS MLRS missiles that were found in Belgorod region. So we know for quite a while now that Kiev regime forces, formerly Kiev regime forces, in reality US forces presented in the ground in Ukraine, are launching those missiles towards Russia. And also Lentaru is reporting, by the way, that according to Sky News, Kiev regime first time used its air force to conduct strikes with Western weapon systems deep inside the Russian territory. No details are provided. But it is also possible. Because, we all know that formerly Kiev regime, in reality, NATO military personnel, for quite a while now are operating with the long-range cruise missiles like Storm Shadow, British Storm Shadow, and French Scalp EG. And also some glide bombs are also used periodically by Kiev regime's air force. I wonder how many planes they have left, but they still have some, unfortunately. Also interesting news, by the way, the TASS news, according to TASS news agency, in Ukraine 30 criminal cases were opened on the topic of stealing of assets, money that were allocated to build some defense lines in Ukraine. And you know what? You want to know amount of money that is mentioned in these criminal cases? $490 million US dollars. $490 million US dollars, by the way. That's why That's why Kiev regime is called one of the most corrupt regimes in the world, if not the most corrupt regime in the world. So, I mean, Washington can continue send more and more billions to Kiev regime and EU member states also, but all they do is basically enriching military-industrial complex of the West, corrupt politicians of the West, and also corrupt politicians in Ukraine. That's what they do, really. And unfortunately, simultaneously, they are prolonging this conflict and increasing. Therefore, of course, directly are guilty for additional death as a result of this conflict and destruction. Kommersant newspaper is reporting that according to Welt media outlet, Germany, Italy and Spain are opposing idea of French President Macron to deploy military personnel of the NATO member states to Ukraine. Well, some internal row is going on among NATO member states, but yet again, it all depends on Washington, by the way. If Washington will say, you France, you Germany, and you Spain, and you Denmark or Poland or whoever, you are going to send your troops into Ukraine, that's what's gonna happen, because these countries have no leadership that can oppose Washington. They just don't. It's objective reality. But before Washington starts giving orders left and right to these people that formally are in charge of the EU member states or NATO member states, before Washington gets involved, of course, they can have a internal conflict between each other. Who cares, really? They may play these roles, for their domestic use or for public, when in reality we all know what is going on and who is in charge. RIA Novosti's report here that Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov commented on recent statements of the Russian President Vladimir Putin about possibility that Russian weapon systems, including long-range weapon systems, will end up in the hands of enemies of the Russian enemies. And Lavrov stated that he is quite sure that Western ruling class received this message. They received this message and will have to deal with it now, with this new reality. Okay. I said yesterday during the live stream, and I can repeat now, that I would like not to see that level of escalation between Russia and the West. I would definitely prefer to see de-escalation, but unfortunately, I mean, only so much Moscow can tolerate, isn't it, when it comes to this constant escalation from the West. And at some point, one way or another, Moscow will start responding, and yes, I mean. So yes, Lavrov stated that West definitely received quite clearly a message from Russia. Also, RT's report that Russia accuses France of lying about troops in Ukraine. This was stated also, I mean, this is also about statements of Lavrov. France is deceiving the public by claiming that it has not deployed any troops to Ukraine. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has stated. On Thursday, French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal said his country had never trained troops on Ukrainian territory, but added that the option is of sending French instructors to the country is not taboo. Later, President Emmanuel Macron, who suggested that the West should not rule out stationing soldiers in Ukraine, said that several of Paris allies had already agreed to deploy military trainers. However, he did not say which countries were on board with this policy. Commenting on the French official's remarks on Sunday, Lavrov told journalist Pavel Zarubin that Prime Minister of France suddenly began to say that they do not have instructors there in Ukraine. It's not true, and they know it. The foreign minister went on to suggest that Western nations want to quietly teach the global community that their decisions on Ukraine, including allowing Kiev to strike deep into Russia and stationing military personnel in the war-torn country, are of not real importance or consequences. We see all this and we fully understand what they are doing and what role they are playing in the war unleashed against us, and we know how to fight this. Lavrov stated. So yes, also no surprises. Of course, we all know, by the way. It's kind of, we say it secret polichinelle in Russian. Oh, by the way, many members of our community are asking me to read some headlines in Russian. I forget about it, sorry. So it's an open secret, of course, that ATACMS missiles and other long-range weapon systems from US are operated by US military personnel. Storm Shadows cruise missiles are operated by British military personnel. French Scalp EG missiles are operated by French military personnel. We all know this. Everyone knows this. So Lavrov 100% is correct. I mean, it's just... RT is reporting that key minister quits Netanyahu's war government. A key member of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's war cabinet, Benny Gantz, has announced his withdrawal from the country's government. Gantz, a former defense minister without portfolio, who entered the war cabinet shortly after the beginning of their ongoing conflict with Palestinian militant group Hamas last October, announced his resignation on Sunday, citing disagreements with the Netanyahu's policies. Netanyahu is preventing us from progressing towards the true victory, he said in a statement. For this reason, we are leaving the emergency government today with a heavy heart, yet wholeheartedly. Gantz also called upon Netanyahu to set a date for new elections, urging him to not let our nation be torn apart. According to some experts, this was expected, by the way. Benny Gantz announced his possible withdrawal from government for quite a while. There was reports about it, and I also mentioned this topic during the previous updates. And some experts are suggesting that Netanyahu will still manage to hold on to power. He will just further increase his ties with the extreme right-wing groups in Knesset, Israeli parliament, and probably that's exactly what is going to happen. I don't think Netanyahu is going to appoint parliamentary elections. It's not happening. I mean, just mark my words. Also, by the way, TASS News Agency's report, and let me read this headline in Russian, if I may. So, хуситы объявили об ударах по британскому эсминцу HMS Diamond. That's how it sounds in Russian. So, Houthis declared about the strikes on British frigate HMS Diamond. So, according to Houthi rebels, also known as Ansar Allah movement, they conducted strikes on British HMS Diamond with ballistic missiles. Although, by the way, no additional information. Is this attack was successful or not? Most likely, HMS Diamond's air defense neutralized all the incoming missiles. Most likely. But theoretically, theoretically, it is possible that something went wrong and on the board of this vessel, and it was hit by Houthi missile. We still don't have a video, isn't it? New video from Dwight Eisenhower, US aircraft carrier, which, according to some reports, was also hit, or at least targeted by Houthi rebels recently, just about a week ago, like 10 days ago maybe. And now this report about HMS Diamond, well, I wonder what has happened there. But of course, British MOD not gonna share with us information about it. Only in case if HMS Diamond is sunk. Then, of course, London will be forced to admit this. But if vessel receives some minor damage or even significant damage, probably they will try to hide this information from public. And, by the way, Lenterus reporter, МИД отреагировал на возможное вступление Турции в BRICS. That's how you say it in Russian. Foreign Ministry reacted on a possible reacted on Turkey's bid to become member of the BRICS, and well, Maria Zakharova, official representative of Russian Foreign Ministry, stated that the doors of the BRICS are open, and more than 30 countries already are officially declared they intend to join their organization. So yes, door is open, and Turkey can, of course, become a member of the BRICS. Although, by the way, no strong statements, no nothing. Because once again, as I spoke in previous updates, and also in yesterday's, during the yesterday's live stream, Turkey is a very important country, of course, obviously, for many reasons. But point is that BRICS had its lesson from Argentina, when previous government of Argentina asked to become a member of the BRICS. It was invited to the BRICS because Brazil was lobbying this, and well, BRICS member states, other BRICS member states, take in account position of the Brazil, and then we know what happened in Argentina, isn't it? Public voted for this Milei president that they have now. And Milei and his government, they turned Argentina away from the BRICS. And of course, I'm quite sure this organization don't want anything like that to happen again. And therefore, approach towards Turkey's bid will be very cautious, and towards bid of any other country. Because I guess capitals of the BRICS member states need to make sure that decision to join BRICS, it's not a decision of one party or another. It's a decision of the political class, political elites in this country. And by the way, to make sure in such a result, maybe BRICS will require from countries that want to join our organization to hold a referendum. Maybe there is already a requirement of such, but I don't think so. I believe it will be good if referendum will be held in countries that want to join BRICS, so that there will be some more significant basement and guarantees for BRICS that this decision would not be changed if tomorrow some another party will become in power. And in case of Turkey, that's very much possible. That's very much possibility, because during the recent, relatively recent local elections, a ruling party of the Erdogan, president of Turkey, lost mainly. And I'm not sure that main opposition parties in Turkey are on the same page when it comes to joining BRICS with Erdogan and his government. So BRICS will take a cautious approach, as it should. But if Turkey if political class of Turkey will decide that yes, for best interest of Turkey is to join BRICS, of course that will be great for Turkey and for BRICS also, because you cannot underestimate importance of the Turkey, by the way, as a regional country. I mean, and as a country with immense potential. So it's gonna be beneficial, but approach has to be cautious anyways. And by the way, I will end this update now. First part of today's update now. Quite long update, but I mean, plenty of news. So, and I have quite a number of news left, by the way, for the second part of the update, which will be published on my Patreon shortly. So yes, hopefully you will find this first part interesting and informative, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, any topic. More likes and comments are only way we have to somehow influence algorithm to reach wider audience. And for very same reason, if you can, please share information about my channel with your friends on any of the platforms that you are actively using, with the exception of Facebook, maybe, because they are blocking links, although you can write that there is a channel, the one who does the opinion. I recommend this anyways. Or by the way, in real life, I mean, in real life, to friends, that there is a channel there from Russia about news and political commentary. And yes, if you find this channel interesting, informative, useful, if you think this channel deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with donations through PayPal, Boosty, or by becoming sponsor or paid subscriber on my Patreon page. All the links under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And I don't know if I have to mention this, by the way, but well, unfortunately my channel is not monetized on YouTube, so that's also has some role to play, and will never be monetized. So that's been said, I guess this is it for now. Have a great day, successful new week, and if you are, I mean, I will say goodbye to our community on YouTube and Rumble, and to our community from Patreon. I will say see you soon on the Patreon. Before you will finish watching or listening this update, second part will be published on Patreon, so we can meet there. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.